Hello and welcome to episode 60 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is July 27th, 2020. And today I'm dressed in summery cotton and I'm dressed all in crochet. Usually I knit more than I crochet, but today I just chose those two crochet pieces. And this is a triangular shawl that I crocheted in 2013. The instructions were the pattern was in a magazine, and it's a white cotton yarn with some silver sparkle, some silver glitter in it. Not quite sure how. Yeah, you can. Sometimes it's visible on camera. The construction was a bit unusual because you start with a long edge. So you start with a very, very long crochet chain and then you crochet up and you decrease on the sides. The disadvantage is that you have to keep crocheting until the tip, otherwise it will not look finished and it won't be a proper triangle. But the good thing is that when you're still fresh and motivated, you have those long rows. But as time goes on and maybe you lose a bit of your enthusiasm, then the rows get shorter and shorter, and the finishing the end is a lot quicker than the beginning. But still, I'm not a big fan of that way of constructing triangles because there's always the danger of running out of yarn unless you have a lot of it. So I did have a lot, and I worked in the yarn shop, so I could just get more if I needed it. So that was easy, but that's not true for most people. So this construction has its problems. But the other thing that I didn't really like about the pattern, and I didn't realize that until I'd already started crocheting, is that the edge of the triangle where you decrease your stitches, it doesn't line up with the pattern itself. So looking at the pattern, I would have thought that you kind of follow this line maybe, but as you can see, the motifs sort of get smaller and smaller, and then one motif vanishes, and then this is a whole motif, and then this gets smaller. So the edge was always a bit difficult and you had to pay attention a lot. And I thought if I were to design a pattern like this, I would make sure that the pattern lines up more. But by the point I realized that, I'd already crocheted quite a bit, and because I had started with those long rows, I didn't want to undo it. And I thought, well, now that I know how it works, I'll just finish it. And I really like it. It's light and white, and it fits with everything, and that's the reason I picked it today, because the other thing I'm wearing, the pattern is called Rainbow Mandala Waistcoat, and it's a proper rainbow. So it has all the colors of the rainbow, and I particularly love the motif in the back. I hope it was visible on screen. And I'll just pull this up for a moment, and you can see that all the colors that are in the middle back there, they repeat outward, and it's like a wearable rainbow, and I just love it. And it's made of cotton, and it has lots and lots of holes, so it's very light again, just adds a little bit of warmth to what I'm wearing, but it does add a lot of color, and I just love that. And I don't really wear it often enough. I'll just have to make sure I wear it more often. I really like it. Yeah, but you can't really wear anything colorful with it. So that's why I picked the white triangular shawl to go with it. So that's what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects. And I think this is probably the episode with the most finished objects, at least in that size. Maybe I've had episodes where I had many small things finished, but never, I think, a pile like this. These are all the things that I finished last week. It's not quite Well, the knitting of this was already done by last week, but I cast off the other 3 last week and I washed and blocked this. And as that is also a bit of work, I thought it was fair to show that today as part of my finished objects. And this, of course, is the Haruni Shawl that I had finished last week. I bound it off, but I hadn't washed and blocked it. And as you may remember, it was all crinkly last week and I had no idea how big it would grow to be. And I think it came out beautifully after blocking. And yeah, I'm showing you the right side. So all the holes in the lace opened up. The beads are really nicely visible. And I put my blocking wires through all those loops, which was not a really good idea because now all the loops are kind of at the same height and they should have been a bit more round. So afterwards I blocked a friend's shawl and I made sure that I put pins into every one of these loops and pulled them outward a bit. I think if I wash the shawl again after I've worn it a few times, I will put the blocking wire just through the middle of those 6 loops and pull those out with the wire and then put pins in the other 4 loops so I can spread them out a little and they'll be more round in a way. But I think it doesn't matter, it's not too bad, so I'm not going to change it before I have worn the shawl a few times. And the size, as I said, is really nice. It's not quite the length of my arms, but almost, and it's fairly long. I love the motif in the middle there with all the loops and all the beads. Yep, I'm very, very happy with my Haruni shawl, and this marks the end of our knit along. So as I always say, you can still continue knitting your shawls and you can still put your pictures in the group if you want to. And yeah, but officially this knit along is drawing to a close, and next week or on August 1st, we'll kick off the next one, knitting the Gemini pullover from knitty.com. So this is the Haruni shawl and this is my Haruni cowl. So it's the same pattern, it's the same edge, but it's a different color, it's a different yarn weight as well, because this is sock weight yarn and this is lace weight yarn. And yep, this is what the cowl looks like. I did not really block the main part of the loop because I didn't think it needed blocking. I just laid it flat to dry. But I did pin out the edge section, and yeah, and I think that looks nice too. I used bigger beads in this one than I used in the shawl, and I think that was a very good idea. I like the way you can see them here and also on the edge, and because this is a lot smaller than the shawl, I did not use blocking wires. I just pulled them out with pins, and I could have tried and put it down like this, but then I couldn't have, this would have been in a mess in the middle. So what I did is I laid it flat like this, and then I always picked up the loops, the corresponding loops from the top and the bottom part. So I always pinned 2 loops with 1 pin, and that worked quite nicely. Yeah. So this is the loop, the cowl, and I'm really happy, and when I wear it, it does lie like this, so the pattern shows up really nicely, and then this just bunches up around your neck, or you can pull it up over your head. Yeah, so that's the Haruni cowl. And then the next piece I'm going to show you is the children's dress that my sister and I knitted together. So I started it off with the yoke bit up here. I cast off the stitches for the sleeve and cast on new stitches here, and I did all the necessary increases. Then my sister just knit the pattern down. She was very busy, knit a lot. And then I just added a few more rows of garter stitch. And after I washed it and laid it flat, I just pinned out those bits a bit to, so that the wavy pattern would show a bit. It doesn't show too much, but I think it's okay. It's nice. And I think it looks quite nice. I hope the girl who's going to get it will like it, and I hope it'll fit her, but I'm pretty sure it should fit her. But we'll see. I'll let you know once we've given it to her and once we've got some feedback. If possible, I'd love to give it to her in person, then we can see whether she likes it and how it fits her. And if I remember, I'll let you know. And then the last finished object for today is my Hitofude jacket. That's the Japanese pattern with the fantastic design that you can cast this on, and then when you cast off and your ball of yarn was big enough, you only have two ends to weave in, the beginning and the end, and you can knit all the rest just in one go. And if you fold the upper half like this, you can see it's just one big rectangle, and then there's this way of knitting stitches together and casting them off, and then knitting a few rounds in the round, and then you cast off stitches at the neckline, and you knit down the front and the back. So last week I'd decided it was long enough. I wouldn't add any more lace patterns. I just added the ribbing, and then yesterday I washed it and I gently blocked it. Didn't block it very aggressively. I just pulled it out so that the lace pattern opened up and everything looks nice and even. And I'm very, very happy. It's not down to my knees as I thought it would be, but I just had to stop knitting. And I still have 80 grams left. So the whole jacket is 220 grams. So if I'd added the other 80 grams, it just wouldn't have looked nice, I think. And also I was just not in the mood to continue knitting on this. And I'm really happy the way it looks now. And I hope to show this off as what I'm wearing sometime soon, if it's not too warm to wear a woolen jacket. So that was all my finished objects for last week, which were quite a few. Pretty sure it won't be that many next week. But on to works in progress. As usual, I'll continue with my socks. I am working on this sock with the spiraling pattern. Again, I did not add a lot, but I did add a few rows every now and then. This stitch marker shows 30 rounds of pattern, and I did 50 on the first, so I think I did about 5 after I put the marker, so it's another 15 rounds of pattern. That's what takes long with this sock, because it's pattern in every round and you have to knit 2 together every so often. So that's something that I have to look at. I have to concentrate on a bit. Once the pattern is finished, I will do 5 rounds of stockinette and then a fish lips kiss heel, and then just knit the foot in stockinette. I hope that will be a lot faster then. But I'm not in a hurry. I finished the first one. It's here in my shop. So people can see the pattern and I don't have to hurry with the second one. Then the same goes for this real spiral sock. So this is a spiral sock that will not get a heel because of the spiraling knit purl pattern. This just sits on any foot nicely, even without a heel. And I think I've added quite a bit. I think last week I'd only just started the spiraling pattern, so I added a few more rounds on this one. This is a bit easier to work on because even though I do have to make sure that the knits and purls are at the proper place and that after 4 rounds I move the pattern by 1 stitch, it's something I don't have to concentrate on too hard. So as long as the light's okay and I can see, I can just knit that without concentrating too much. And again, I have a stitch marker that tells me this is 10 pattern repeats, and I did 30 pattern repeats on the first sock. So that's what I need to do, and that will have I will have to prioritize this. Can't think of another way of saying that right now, because once I've done the 30 pattern repeats, I can put in double pointed needles for the toe, and then I can use this needle for the sleeve of my pullover that I'm going to show you later, and then you'll see why I need the needle now. So that's the second sock, and then the neon shorty sock that I restarted last week, or just before I did the last filmed the last episode. I knitted quite a bit on that. This is so bright. Camera really has difficulty showing this, but this is a really nice and bright neon color. This is, as you can see, it's a shorty sock. It only has a short cuff, and then it has this slip stitch heel flap and quite a long, I think that's a gusset, isn't it? But I finished the decreases and I'm on the straight bit now. I think I only need to do 1 more pattern repeat and then I can knit the toe. It's a nice, easy, simple lace pattern. The pattern is in the book, is from the book One Skein Sock Yarn Ideas, something like that. I link the book underneath the video, so if you're interested you can have a look there. Yeah, so that should be finished soon. Just 1 pattern repeat. I'm still debating whether to do the toe that's in the book or just do my usual star pattern toe. Not quite sure what to call that. It's called star toe in German, and that's my favorite, but in the book there's a different one, so I'm not quite sure yet what to do. But I'm pretty sure by next week I'll have finished the first one and started the second one, and then I can show you which toe I decided to do. So that was the socks. Then on to my haramaki, and I had almost finished the knitting last week. I added a few more rows in the light blue color, so now this strip is as wide as this one, and now all I need to do is sew it together. I'm doing a Kitchener stitch, but it's 180 stitches, so this is a very long seam. Yeah, but I hope to find a quiet moment sometime this week to sit down and do this long seam. And then all I have to do is weave in the ends and wash and block it. And my plan is to block it as wide as possible so it's not too long and it's wide enough to sit around the neck comfortably. And I'll see whether or not it's still possible to make a hat out of it, because that's the idea behind the haramaki, is that you can wear it as a cowl or you can fold it inside out and make a hat. Or you could even wear it as a belly warmer if you fit into it. But the way this came out, my aunt is not going to fit inside. It might fit me as a belly warmer if I block it wide enough. We'll see. I'll try it on and let you know. So I hope to have that finished next week, and then I can tell you more. Then before I come to all the blankets, I will show you one of my, no, it's not a new cast on, but after finishing so many things, I always feel like I'm allowed to cast on new things. But as I just filmed a special episode podcast episode where I show all my unfinished objects, I thought with every new cast on, I should also try and work on something old. So I picked up this project, and basically it's not even an unfinished object. Basically this was, for me, this was just a gauge swatch to try the pattern out. And I hadn't even started a project page on Ravelry because I felt like I was still experimenting and I hadn't properly started knitting this. But now I have. So I've decided that this is one of the things I want to pick up and finish. And I looked through my books and I managed to find the stitch pattern in one of my stitch pattern books. And I am knitting a square, and it's supposed to be like it's going to be a big square that I fold in half and sew 2 seams, and then it's like a shrug or a small jacket that you can just throw over. And I knit one like that some years ago out of a book, I think out of the book Noro Lace. And it was a very nice jacket, I liked it, but I did not like the fact that the lace pattern that was in the pattern didn't line up with these increase lines. So it's kind of like with this shawl, if you have increase or decrease lines, I like for the lace pattern to line up with that. So that's why I picked this lace pattern. It looks like diamonds, and it's quite similar to the one that I used in the other jacket, but with that one, the lines for the pattern and for the increases, they would not line up, so you'd have partial pattern repeats, and I didn't like that. And with this, the lines correspond, so as I increase to get a bigger square, I also add more pattern repeats, and I always have like a full pattern repeat growing out of that side. And yeah, I still haven't started a Ravelry page for the pattern. I hope to do that today, maybe even before we put the links underneath the video, so you can check it out, you can have a look at that. The yarn is Opal yarn 100 Wasser. So this is a series of colors that Opal does, and it's the only colorways that they repeat year after year. All the other colorways, they come and go, but the 100 Wasser colors, they stay. And so this is the picture by 100 Wasser that the colors in this yarn are inspired by. Yeah, and this is, oops, this is what it looks knit up. And I thought it's not too busy, so the lace pattern doesn't get completely lost. Yeah, we'll see. But I just like the colors, and I like blue anyway, so nothing new there. That's my new jacket. Now, that was already a square. Now on to the other squares. I did not crochet any green squares. I did not continue on my crochet along because the pattern, I haven't got any new pattern parts, but I knit 2 more squares of my knit blanket, on my all squares, all projects memory blanket. That's what I call it. So this is the square I showed you last week, and this is the leftover yarn from the Haruni Cowl. The Haruni Shawl will not appear in the blanket because it's a 3-ply yarn and not a 4-ply, and so I won't put it in the blanket, and the other 2 projects weren't even sock yarn. So, but I was quite happy to finish something and then put the square in straight away, so I was quite happy with that. And then the last one I put in last week is this grey sock yarn with cotton, and I knit shorty socks out of that yarn a few weeks ago. So now I'm on a full rectangle, and yeah, so I will be adding squares to this side next, and then once I've done that, I'm back to a big square. So maybe I can start doing that this week, we'll see. So, and of course, the other squares that I crocheted, my cat blanket. These are all the pieces that you've already seen. So the stack is growing. And this is what I crocheted last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that was yesterday. And today I haven't crocheted a square yet. I was too busy this morning, so I'll have to do that tonight. And if anyone's really interested in watching the blanket grow, I post a square a day on Instagram. You can find my Instagram if you look for Kikos Strickschule, but I think there should be a link underneath the video as well with my Instagram name. Yeah, so I'm continuing on that. I was on square 22 yesterday, so today's 23, and then when I crochet 24, I will have knit every color in the middle of the motif twice. And as I've already prepared these, just because I like them so much and they're so nice. But from tomorrow on, I will start using these because now my plan is to do 35 squares, which means that all the colors except for one will appear in the blanket 3 times. So if I did them all twice, plus these, I'd have one too many. So today I will crochet one color. I'll have to check which one. And then from tomorrow on, I can start using these. And as these disappear, I know that I'm getting close to finishing all the squares of the blanket. And I also plan to crochet a pair of eyes this week and attach them to one of the cats to see what it looks like and to see how much work it is. And then I will decide whether or not all the cats will have eyes and noses, or whether you see the cats from the back. Not too sure about that yet. But I'm still very busy with this blanket and I'm still enjoying it a lot. So that's that. I did not crochet on my trousers. Just didn't get around to doing it, but I still hope to keep working on that. And I did cast on something new. So I picked up something old and I cast on something new. And the new thing that I picked, that I cast on, the pattern is called Sleeves by Martina Beam. And the reason I decided to do that is I've always wanted to, not always, but ever since I saw the pattern, I wanted to knit it for myself, but never got around to doing it. But a few months ago, I bought a new bike and now I'm going everywhere by bike. And I found that even in warm weather, when I'm not wearing a lot because it's quite warm outside, but because of the wind, I tend to get cold arms. And so I thought this Sleeves by Martina Beam, which is basically just a pair of sleeves and a bit of a back, but nothing in the front. There's no front pieces, so to say. I thought that would be perfect to have now. And because I want it to be not too warm, because when you ride your bike, even though it's an electric bike, you still get warm just by working on it. So I decided to use sock yarn with cotton, so it's not too warm, but still it's a little warm. And I have quite a few colors left over. And so I started the first sleeve in this blue-gray. I knit my nephew's socks out of this yarn last year, and this is the first sleeve. And you start with this triangle, and then at a certain point, or when it's wide enough, when you decide it's wide enough, then you start knitting in the round, and it's a typical Martina Beam pattern. So you increase at one point and you decrease at the other point, and now I can knit the sleeve as long as I want to have it. And then I knit the other sleeve, and then I do this and that, and I combine the two pieces together, and then I think I end somewhere in the back. And I decided to use all the leftovers I had, and as I think it won't be enough, I'll be adding on this grey color. So grey is the main color, as it's very neutral and I can wear it with everything. So this is a new ball of yarn that I can use. This is the yarn that I used for the square in the blanket that I just showed you, that I knit shorty socks with. Then I have another color with grey and purple. That's a leftover yarn from my sister. She knit herself a skirt. And then I have this rainbow color that I knit socks for myself out of. And these two balls are left over from a jumper that I knit, I think, last year. And that should be fun too, if I wear the jumper and then put the jacket on top. Because it's a short sleeve pullover, that should look really nice. And I'm planning on putting this probably somewhere upper back. And I want to finish off with this colorful one at the bottom in the middle. You'll see. And I put all the yarn in this beautiful yarn bowl that my sister made for me with this beautiful glaze. Yep, and it's perfect for holding all the yarns, but it's also perfect for just putting one ball into it while I'm knitting. Yep. So that's my new cast on. And I'm quite proud of myself for only casting on one thing, even though I finished 4. Yeah, so then the only thing I still need to show you is my Snowflake Pullover. And I did not knit a lot on that. Last week I'd finished about half of the second sleeve. Oops. And yeah, I finished the second sleeve. I finished the part that has just the blue. And now I need to start the color work for the second sleeve. And I couldn't do that because I hadn't finished the sock yet. And of course I could use other needles, but I thought this way I am motivating myself to finish the sock. And then as a reward, I get to knit on that sleeve. And once the sleeve is done, I can return to the front and back. And yeah, try and finish the pullover. Don't really need it with this weather, so I don't mind if it takes a bit longer. But yeah, looking forward to working on that. So that's everything I crocheted and knit last week. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week I will be filming another normal episode with everything I knit and crochet this week. But after that I will not be filming for 2 weeks because I will be on holiday. And I was thinking of maybe filming a special episode just with questions and answers, just in case you have questions that you would like to ask me. I thought if enough people write in with questions, I might just sit down and talk about whatever you would like to know. And if you have any questions about some of my knitted or crocheted pieces or whatever, you could either comment on this video or you could write me an email. I think my email address should be on my channel somewhere. And yeah, so if enough questions, if I get enough questions, then I'll sit down and film a short episode, and I can upload that while I'm on holiday, or we can do that beforehand, and then it can be released while I'm on holiday. And yeah, so I just thought I'll let you know now, because if this is to happen, I'd have to film the episode next week. So to give you some time to ask me questions. Don't ask me questions of how to knit this or how to knit that, because I can't do a tutorial while talking to you at the same time. If you have questions like that, I might do that at a later date. But this time I was thinking more of questions like, I don't know, who taught me to knit or whatever. Whatever you're interested in, I don't know. And I won't promise to answer every question But yeah, it depends on what you ask me, and we'll see about that. I'll let you know next week whether or not I am going to film a special or not. But yeah, just to let you know. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!